Trying to keep you and your buddies out of trouble right here on Stu's channel.
Greetings once again, my fellow RC brethren. We are going to be working on the elevator servos and then on to the exciting part, which is going to be the mounting of the motor, the thrust tube, and then the installation of all of the wires into the receiver, and this should be done. All right. Yes. 10 millimeters. Second hole. What's this mean? First off, it means we're going to cut this portion off. Nice sanding, I should say. There it is. That is at 10 millimeters. Let's take a closer look. These spots are where these servos are going to go. Well, before you get started, before you get all crazy, this is the fish that I've been using. It's a piece of zip tie attached to a piece of servo extension. What you're going to want to do before you even get going is to get in here, right in here, and you're going to want to fish this through to the very front of the plane. All right. I've got one installed. Got both installed, actually. I went ahead of you. All nice. I would start from this screw on this side. I used a pair of very long tweezers to get this one started, and then came back and met this one here. Same thing with the other side, because this is, as you notice, you can't really get to it as you line up. See that? So these are kind of an interesting, you got to really kind of get them in there. But as you notice, look in here. You see the direction of that servo horn? Yeah, look at this. Aha! Pointed towards the outside. Same thing. I nipped off the ends of both of these, expecting that I was going to have, oh wait, I'm going to have, nope, you don't even need to nip that side off. So these are mounted. The next step is to put the mounts that hold the guides in place together. All right, here we are. Let's get this in focus. It comes with its own little fairing piece. Sticker, this is the direction this points. Okay, so the wires are going to rest on the bottom portion of this. What has to happen is, I've got to get wires through this and up there, out the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up on like this on both sides of the fairing. One on this side, one on the other side. I'm going to draw lines onto here and across here, and you'll see why. And welcome aboard. See this? Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to slide this onto the motor, which I've already done, and then you're going to take your measurements. You're going to be coming back. What you're cutting out for is the fairing right here. I'm using one of these poster holders to mount this up and then make my cut. You're going to be way out here. I gave myself a little extra when I did this cut because I know this fairing kind of, it's either thick or fat. Regardless, the case is when you attach this onto the motor, which I'm going to do now, you're going to be taping the top anyway. So you could literally come back here and draw 2 straight lines out, which you saw me do, and then literally cut for the 2 straight lines. It's not that big of a deal. Oh my God, Becky. All right, let me save you a ton of time. I mean a ton. I'm of course going by the book, and I can tell you this. If you start following the book, if you start going along and doing things exactly like the book, go get yourself some spare screws. Just go find them now. This isn't your first jet. This isn't your first plane. You have those screws laying around someplace. They're the same screws that go in and fasten your cover panels down. Well, why? Well, let me just tell you this. What I would do
if I was doing this all over again, I would skip the step of attaching these guys. And I'm going to show you those. I'm going to show you how I put these in right now.
Then you take L1, put your L1 on there, nice and flat, perpendicular, just like so. And believe it or not, that's done. What I did to get this thing on here, because it's really, obviously it's a tight fit, is I slid this on in its direction that it's supposed to go. Look in here, you can see that angle. Actually, this will tell you. You got an R1 and an R2 sitting here. They're facing the front of the plane. That's how you'll know. Alright, so to get this thing on here, I slid it on, and then I dropped the screws in the holes, I flipped it down, and then I just sort of felt for one. I felt for the holes that are in this. Once I found it, I started one, moved it around, found the other, and put it in. Now it's a matter of the push rod. Let's go there. This is where you're going to put them in. There's a slot here, right there. See it? You're going to slide these in.
Now that we're back, I will tell you this. You're not going to get this inside here with these attached. Now I was able to get away with one of them being attached, and this side, this is the L side of things. You're going to find this one with the L attached. This guy here, L, right down there at the bottom, you can see it. L1, L2. You're not going to get in here and put this in with this attached. It's not going to happen. If you start to attempt it, you're going to hear some cracking and some breaking and things of that nature. Save yourself a ton of time. Skip the step and then come back to it. Skip the step that involves these and putting these on. What you'll want to do is get your motor in there. You'll want to get your thrust tube organized. You saw me cut this thing out. There's my slit right there. You'll want to get your thrust tube organized, and you'll want to get the motor in there, and then you're going to go to this step. Alright, and the motor is in. Make sure that this thing is slid in there. See this distance? Right, you see it. Down here, the distance between this block of wood end and where this fits in. This motor is really put in there. There's my holes. This has moved a little bit, but there's my holes. I've already started one screw. We're going to go on to the next. I will come back when all of these screws are in. Right, the screws are put in. The easiest one out of this bunch was this guy here. It's pretty much a straight shot. It was nice and easy. The rest of these I had to use a set of long tweezers like this to actually push the screws into their respective holes, and then you know, of course, screw them down in there. Next comes the thrust tube. On either side of this thing, I'm going to have to increase these slots so this thing can slide up. I want this in there. I want this to be as close to the back end of this plane as possible so that it just comes out here nicely, and I can affix this to this. I don't necessarily need pieces of this hanging out the back that I have to cut off. I'd rather have the front on there. So bottom line is, and yes, I'm going to guess a little bit, but I think I know where it is. I'm going to cut these back just a bit. Oh heck, 3 or 4 millimeters. And what I can do instead of literally cutting them off is I can fold these back just like that. No big deal. You're going to be messing around with your thrust tube just a bit. Hey, it might go straight on in there if you had that lined up exactly with the wood.
But I can tell you, if you do line it up with the wood, it's really not inside that intake. Beautiful. Beautiful. Take a look. I have no extra. There's nothing poking out the end. This is my front end right here. See it? And then any of the space that I have left, that's a tape. So I'm going to tape this on, tape up this little excess of this hole, and this part is complete. I've got to tape the end of the thrust tube onto the plane. I've got my tape in. I'm going to add slots, and that's just going to come over. Once it's taped on the other side, I'll come back like I'm going to do on the inside portion of my wings. One side's already done. And I'm going to trim the top so that it's all even and nice. So I'll start that project now. Ta-da! There it is. Okay, this is all taped on right here. And of course I had to tape up the end of the thrust tube right here. It's very nice. It's all in there. Purpose of the thrust tube is to make the air flow through this tube smoothly instead of hitting all of the supports and joiners, etc. Anyway, that's all taped up. Alright, I bumped into a problem. And the problem is the length. This is the type of connections that this Talon 90 takes, and it plugs directly into the speed controller. So I went to do the test fit, and lo and behold, it's too much. It's too difficult to try to get these into here with inside the canopy section, the battery compartment section, etc. So I am making up some extensions. There it is. Tug test. No, it's not going anywhere. Oh yes. I'm starting to hear it. Starting to hear the sound of completion. Here's my extensions so I can fit my speed controller in here. The next step is to take these off, these 4 screws, to take the battery tray out. Alright, I've got the ESC mounted, double-sided tape on the inside. I ran the line back underneath, just like the rest of them. I cleaned up my lines. I ran my satellite up here towards the front of the ship. This is that little panel right here. I double-sided taped that up there, so that's where my satellite is, routed it through the middle. Now it's a matter of cleaning this up and getting this mounted. Hey, look at Shaky Davey stopped by. He's like, oh my god, this is a badass plane.
Howdy, people.
Howdy. So, hey, I've cleaned up my wires. This right here, still messy, but what's nice about that messiness is this. You can't see a diddly-doo-ha once I put this in. Yeah, you can't see anything once I put a diddly. I don't know what a diddly-doo-ha is. I just, look. Once I put that in, it's going to look really nice. In fact, I could tuck a few things, but I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it just like so. And now the 4 screws and a canopy. At that particular point, I'll put it on, do the kind of unveil, maybe a taxi. We'll see you there. And since we can, that's right, we can. Since we can complete this, yes. Let me get this on a better surface outside of my workstation so you can see this off of the Captain Morgan cover here. Yes, it is absolutely beautiful. Now just to get the fingerprints off here. It is a print magnet because it's so high gloss. So I got to do a little cleanup, and you know what time it is. It is time
Ladies and gentlemen, it's raining. It's not time for the maiden. There she is. As far as the build is concerned, it's done. Now it's flaps. I got to connect my flaps. All my stuff inside is done. A couple of new batteries ordered. We're on our way.
Hope to see you back here on Stu's channel.